Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Auto Guide Show, as Kyle and I are both on remote, but in the same general area, as we talk everything New York Auto Show, and there's also a couple reviews here and there sprinkled in. But first, a word from our sponsor. Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. It's okay, because you know whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything: brakes, headlights, cold air intakes, whatever you need, and it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need, at the prices you'll love, guaranteed fit every time. eBay, things people love. All right, so let's get right to it, because this is a big show. There's no special guest. Our special guest is the New York show, I guess. That's a lot of guests. So We'll kick things off with arguably the biggest reveal in terms of being a global reveal, the most controversial reveal, and probably the reveal that will relate to the most sales. And it's the new Subaru Outback that's not really a wagon anymore.
Yeah. You know, I feel really good for the people who are just listening and not viewing.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't think it's that bad. I saw worse cars on the show floor for sure, but being at the reveal and hearing tons of different media come in and out, a lot of them had the same sort of impressions. The exterior is, I wouldn't even say very mixed. I don't think people are overly excited about it, but everyone is agreeing, on the regular model at least, the interior is one of the best Subarus ever made, and there's big changes there. So for those not watching, the Outback's become an SUV. It's no longer a raised wagon crossover. I mean, every generation got closer to that, but they're not even pretending, because the legacy's dead. So there's no more legacy platform to be tied to. And they've gone very slab-sided, but it's like they didn't go all in. I mean, you can see they're really probably going after the likes of the Passport and Santa Fe and 4Runner and that sort of image and market. But I don't know. There's the back looks nice, but the front, with the new sort of split headlight design that Subaru suddenly thinks they need, like everyone else has, just doesn't really work. And I mean, it's bigger inside, which I guess is good, because it's more of a box. There's more cargo, more rear seat headroom, more front seat headroom, and I sat in everywhere and I fit. The engines are carryovers, kind of. So it has the 2.5, but it's the 2.5 that the Forester got last year. So it and the CVT are supposed to be much quieter, and in the Forester it was, but can't know until we drive it. And then the upgraded engines, the 2.4 turbo, pretty much carry over, but I never had a problem with that engine.
No, and I don't think many people did. You were the one that was at this reveal. I went and saw it afterwards, and yeah, I really don't think it's good looking, but I heard a few people mention this before, is that's kind of Subaru's thing. Subaru hasn't really made a traditionally good looking vehicle in a while, right? Possibly ever, if you really want to get nitty gritty. I think that's part of the appeal. People want this kind of chunky, and it still looks like it's rugged. And we actually haven't even talked about the main rugged one.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah. And so I'm okay with that, but I think the bigger issue for me, we'll see how it translates to sales, right? But Subaru had this unique position in the market of being the only wagon-like option, and it outsold everything. So I do wonder if maybe, we'll see after the first full year of it being on sales, I wonder if this is going to hurt it or not. I mean, they wouldn't have done it for no reason, but we never know how the market will respond. So
there are people there too commenting on how does it differ from the Forester now, because they're so similar in shape. I mean, it's obviously bigger, and you can get the turbo in this, and it is a bigger vehicle, but like you said, there was a little bit of a difference, and that's why I want to drive it, because they made the point during the presentation quite a few times that it still has the Outback driving characteristics, even though it's bigger. And there's some merit to maybe that. It has electronic adjustable dampers now, I don't know if the driver actually selects them or if they're constantly adjusting themselves, but it's the first for the Outback. I think it's potentially it's the first for a modern Subaru. Who knows back in the 90s when people were playing with crazy bits. And it's not just for ride comfort, it's also for X mode. So it can sort of stiffen up the wheel that's actually getting traction and whatnot. So, I mean, I know they're jumping on the trend. I say in my video, they kind of were the trendsetters because they were always boxy, but this is kind of going all in and maybe not the right way. But sticking with the positive, on the inside, the vertical infotainment system is dead, and this is clearly going to go into every model. And below it, there's an entire row of physical climate control buttons and 2 climate control dials. So that's great. It got taken out of the infotainment system and put physically on the dash. But in the process, we lost the tuning knob, which I know isn't a big deal for you, but for us radio listeners, that really sucks.
No, I get that. That's fair.
So it's a good and a bad. I mean, like I said, it has a digital driver information center, another first for Subaru. They wouldn't say who made the new infotainment system, but I mean, it can't be worse than the last couple. So yeah, it's one of those, I'll reserve judgment fully till I drive it, hoping it still drives like an Outback and it's practical like an Outback. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I just want to add my impression on the interior after looking at it very briefly on the floor is the bezel around the infotainment is kind of nuts. It is a big, chunky piece of plastic, and then the display inside, which is a little strange for such a new vehicle. But yeah.
Was that the Outback, or sorry, was that the Wilderness or the regular? So we'll just quickly move over to its other version that was debuted as the Wilderness, which, hey, Subaru, thanks for finally giving us a Wilderness right from the start, not making us wait a year like past models. So, I mean, we won't spend too much time here, but the Wilderness is the Wilderness. It's up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance as usual. It's got ruggedized cladding, which I'll get to in a second because it's actually kind of interesting. Unique look, StarTex interior seats, which is basically the kind of, not even fake leather, that kind of squishy vinyl that easy to clean. Although Subaru knows that a lot of people who buy these vehicles are never going to take them off road. So there's now an available Napa leather interior on the Outback Wilderness, and surround view camera, and a whole bunch of stuff you wouldn't want on one if you actually took it into the bush. The copper, they call it anodized copper, but you know, those orangey accents, they're all over the same spots on the outside and inside. But they really did style this different. Usually it's a little different, but like on the back, they have these crazy reverse lights in the orange circles, like halfway, not even halfway, like right below the rear hatch glass. Like they're way up there. And the front doesn't have the logo. It just has Subaru stamped in the grille in massive lettering. And it has these 2 design elements that almost look like a push bar built right into it. The rear has some more design elements, and then the cladding is actually it's not your usual plastic. It's a very texturized and kind of almost feels like a bed liner to a degree, and it's designed that way. So they're saying if you like rest your skis or some like dirty clothes or whatever, you're outside in the mud, it's more scratch resistant, or if it scratches, you don't really notice it. So I mean, it's cool. Someone else did that recently, and I'm completely drawing a mind blank on who really textured.
It was the Passport. That they said that for the little top bar behind or like above the rearmost window, it's a unique texture. And they were like, oh, it's so you can rest your skis. And everyone was like, yeah, but that's over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, no, this is the lower cladding. But no, there's a vehicle where they actually really, like they said, look at the lower cladding and how different it looks and feels. But this, above the wheels, there's these little rectangles, like the easiest way to explain it is any GMC vehicle where they have the amber signals, not even turn signals, but just the amber marker lights on above their wheels, because these wheel wells are very square, just like a GMC, but they're not removable and they're not lights. And I thought it's really strange, but on the Wilderness, they're a different material, and they're very like, I don't know, they're not metal, but they're much harder. So I'm wondering if that's like a point where they're saying like this is where people might lean stuff, or maybe there'll be some sort of aftermarket attachment to it one day. But but if you didn't like the likes of the Outback, Kyle, you're probably not going to like the Wilderness.
No, I don't. The weird Ford Raptor style front end treatment with Subaru just stamped there. I don't. This again, like maybe I don't know. Maybe buyers were really clamoring for something like this, but it is hard to look at.
Well, the way I relate this vehicle is I've been in the Subaru world. I've owned many for many, many, many decades now. Every time a new Subaru comes out, everyone talks about how ugly it is and the last one looked better. And then in about 4 or 5 years, everyone loves that design and hates the next one. And it's just this weird cycle. And it's where it's happened with every WRX, every Crosstrek, Outback. So, I mean, the last Outback that's being put to pasture now, I did not ever really like the look of. I thought it was kind of weird in many ways. So who knows? Like you said, maybe their marketers know more. And I don't think it really matters. I think every Outback Subaru can build will still sell. Like, I really don't think it matters. If when it was like a full wagon for many years and then it started going SUV in the last 10 years, only increased sales, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It could be a B9 Tribeca solution or situation where,
That
sales
good.
sales don't do well, and then we'll see a redesign in 2 years. It's
well, the B9 also was way too small and way too expensive.
Yeah.
So moving on to something you got to see a debut of that I'm not 100% sold on the looks of is the Kia K4 hatchback. So I am ecstatic there's a hatchback option on the market because we do not have enough. So good on you, Kia.
Right? Yeah. And actually, you say that, and I was thinking the same thing. And then I was like, I spent a little bit more time, and most of the competitors in this class actually have hatchbacks now, which is fantastic. The only ones that don't are Hyundai and Nissan.
Yeah, well, and they have their not really SUVs to kind of fill that gap with the Venue and the Kicks. So I guess if you want a small hatch, I don't think it's so much everyone has a hatchback. I think there's hardly any competitors left.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like the domestics don't have anything anymore. So
Chevy
anyway,
Trax.
So I guess it's pretty close to one of these. So I understand what you're saying about styling, which seems to be kind of a theme for the New York show in general.
Yeah.
But I like how the K4 looks from up front. I'm not entirely sold. I drove the sedan back when it launched, and we'll both be driving it fairly soon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just the sedan is huge now. Compact cars, we know this isn't news to anyone that compact cars aren't really compact anymore. And the K4 is a great example of it. Well, this is 11 inches shorter,
Wow.
and it's all off the back, and yet it actually gains cargo space and gains headroom. So it is a more spacious vehicle with a tinier footprint. And I think the back end treatment is actually really good here because it takes the lighting style that we see on the sedan, which is a very wide full width taillight, and then right at the corners it goes down, so it really emphasizes the width. So on the hatch, you get even more of that, and you get this strong shoulder line because the roof stops so abruptly that I think it's a pretty attractive shape. I know Kia's newest face is a little controversial, so we'll see how the market responds to it. I'm seeing more and more K4s on the road now. And apparently sales are really up for them because, like you said, there's not a lot of competitors left. And so as long as you're still in the game, you're getting a bigger slice of the pie.
Of a shrinking pie. It's funny. I don't think I ever saw K4 on the road yet. It could just be regional landscape of automobiles. But yeah, like I said, the face, I think it's the SUV face kind of translated to cars for me. And it doesn't really work. I liked how before Kia had sort of a separate identity for their cars to their SUVs.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that bugs me, and I don't know why, and I'll never forgive Nissan for it, is the floating roof. I just don't like floating roofs at the back. Like, I hate when they put that little style piece. And Subaru's doing it too. Speaking of just seeing the Subarus, like, why do we need a floating roof? What's the deal? It doesn't do anything, but
I guess it's something about the visual weight and shifting it, because they made a very good point about a very sustained point, I guess you could say, of pointing out that the weight goes right over the rear wheel on the hatch. And to that end, if you squint a little bit, it kind of looks like the old BMW clown shoe. in terms of like, especially because they've hidden the rear door handles like the sedan up in the pillar. So you only have from far away what looks like two doors. And it's like, oh, is it a shooting brake? It's a very rear set front driver. Yeah, I guess I should also point out that powertrain wise, it's identical to the K4. You get a 2-liter CVT or a turbo 4-cylinder with the 8-speed auto. That's it.
Yeah, it's funny how Volkswagen, Hyundai, and Kia are all ditching their DCTs and putting in regular autos. It's like the DCT was never meant to be in a regular car. Sports cars, yes, but
yeah.
So 2 questions. First is the roofline looks like it kind of slopes down the back. Is it like a 3 where it gets real tight in the cargo or rear seat room, or is it okay?
It's pretty good. Yeah, that was a concern for me. And then when they were like, "Oh, well, we have an additional inch of headroom," and I'm just like, "Are you measuring that right at the front?" But no, I sit back there and I'm fine. It's one of the more spacious options. I don't know if it's actually better in terms of real world seating versus the Civic hatchback, because we know that that's the king of space in this segment. So that sounds like a future comparison.
It does. And that brings me to the last question right before we move on is with a foot missing from the back of the car, is the proportion still nice, or is it like the Civic where it looks like the car is missing?
Oh, in terms of the rear hatch styling, no, I think this is a little better resolved than the Civic. When you open it up, you still get a sense that there's a car there.
Or when it's driving down the road, it's like, where did the back of your car go?
Yeah. They've really done it in a way that I like. In fact, if anything, it kind of makes the nose look too long now.
Well, that's the Civic problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there's a big V8 under there or something, and then the back's missing.
Yeah.
All right, so we will break up the theme of ugly, not ugly. That's unfair, but maybe not the most attractive debuts for what I think everyone can agree was the best looking debut at the auto show, and that's the Genesis X Gran Equator, which is a lot of words.
Yes.
They're really going all in on this X Gran, and it always makes me think they're going to be like a Gran Turismo vision car.
Yeah, but I guess X Gran is their concept terminology, right?
And Suzuki might want to have some words with them about the Equator name, but I guess no one remembers that pickup truck of like 2 years.
I don't think even Suzuki remembers it, so it's fine.
So this is definitely a concept. It's not as ready to like roll down the production line as the other X Grans I saw in Korea 2 weeks ago. That like I was expecting an announcement here saying we're putting them into production, but not yet. This has the crazy classic proportions of a massive hood and sort of not a small greenhouse. There's probably a lot of space in there, but it's just sort of when you see the old luxury cars and you're like, how did anyone fit back there? But it was just the front was so big. The passenger compartment didn't look that big. It's got Genesis signature lighting, and it's obviously rugged, which is a theme of the world right now. And it's jacked way up in the air with huge all-terrain tires. But yeah, I mean, it's cool looking. And if it's a styling direction of their future SUVs, it's not that far off, but still nice.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing this in person because the proportions are a little extreme. We just finished saying the K4 has a long nose. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But I really like this. I was saying to a colleague of ours, what's really great about this is it shows the breadth that Genesis can use this design direction in. Like the twin light thing, in my mind, is such a great move. I love that the company went to this a few years ago because it is so easy to just look at one of their cars for a split second and be like, okay, Genesis. Like it's such a great identifying mark. And so it works on this in a very different way than what it does on other vehicles. And the belt line is so flat. So I think that's the thing that really messes with our sense of proportion is if you look at it in profile, that hood is basically just like 90 degrees or 0 degrees with the ground for that matter, perfectly parallel. And the glazing with the windows is so smooth that it just kind of fits flush with the body too. And so that also kind of messes with your sense of proportion versus traditional cars, but it's a concept. the hatch is very cool looking because it's so much glass. Like, you know, this couldn't make production on that alone, but it's impressive to see the open air feel of the cabin. And then, I mean, the cabin is the coolest thing. It's so analog. There's no screen.
Yeah, like I said, how the proportions look old school. It's sort of what Genesis seems to be doing right now, not even recently, just like the last month, is they're building vehicles to show, you know, like we could be old school luxury as well, which I think is important. To your point about the recognizable styling elements, like the vast majority of people don't care about cars, and they probably still don't even know what a Genesis is or looks like. But the more they see the style and maybe one specific model catches their eye, then they start seeing it more. And you needed that to get your brand awareness. And yeah, like that glass back you're talking about, like that reminds me of all the huge estates and shooting brakes and whatnot, like British style from the 70s. And the interior's got that old school luxury. And just how Rolls Royces and Bentleys used to be, where it had a massive hood. Now, why do you need a massive hood? Well, it's usually to put a massive engine in. You know, Genesis working on some V8 for some racing series that just happened to be shown right beside this vehicle. So, you know, my dream of a V8 Genesis Magma is still alive.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have tailpipes, so I think it's supposed to be electric, but who knows?
Yeah, it could just be the styling. But you're right. I mean, they showed the GV90 and then this. I think they're just showing sort of their style. I mean, if they make a GV90 and then they make this as like a GV90 coupe, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't know how many they'll sell, but it's a statement piece. So
Yeah, and actually, I mean, on that note, a year ago here in New York, they showed the Neoloon concept, which was a big 3-row electric SUV, but in a very different style than this. And so I think it's Genesis kind of, they have a pretty strict naming convention currently. And so I wonder how, if this is about exploring where there's openings in their own lineup to fit something in that maybe doesn't follow this naming convention. Like, this doesn't necessarily have to have the number approach, right? Maybe it won't be Gran Equator, but it could be its own little offshoot because it's sort of a halo model on its own.
Well, it's like we've said many times, with an electric platform, there is no, there's basically, it's unlimited possibilities because there's no worry about drive shafts and where the engine goes and cooling and all that. You just stretch and put motors where you want. So
Yes, I agree. Sorry, I just want to point out to listeners who are hearing honking, as Mike said, we're both on site in New York. So yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet here. All right, well, let's keep moving because we got a lot more. We'll get a little faster through, because now we're getting to this is the last big reveal, I guess. Ooh, that was a big honk. So Subaru told us they were bringing a Trailseeker, and they had a couple drawn pictures to show us in advance. So we really didn't know what to expect. And I expected a shell, but no, an actual vehicle showed up, and one that's going to be on sale in less than a year. And it's, I think it's a big deal for Subaru. It's funny, I put a video up and everybody is saying this should have been the Outback, because it's basically Outback sized and shaped, and it has the wagon look.
Yep.
It's a Solterra platform, but Subaru took it from Toyota and kind of cut and chopped and stretched and did all sorts of stuff to it and made this vehicle. So it still has the Toyota driver information center and the Toyota infotainment system, because you can't unmarry it from that with the motors. But they did play with the motors, and it's 375 horsepower in the XT version, which I think is kind of cool that they're going to keep the XT name going into their EVs as well. Regular versions probably closer to 300 or just above. That's sort of where the regular dual motors are.
Yeah.
The RZ from Lexus, that's a little less power than it makes, so it probably has its bigger rear motor is the difference, I would guess. But yeah, the suspension, like I said, the actual body length 6 inches longer, the roof's about an inch higher. The wheelbase, we don't know, but it's probably a little longer. But again, that doesn't really matter on an EV. But getting inside, I mean, it has a lot of Solterra elements, almost too many. But again, you can't really get away from that. But it's got a way more usable back seat. This has more of the wilderness styling touches, even though it's not. And it's meant to be their rugged SUV. And they're saying over 260 miles of range, which isn't huge, but it's okay. I mean, the battery's only a 74.7 kilowatt hour pack, so it's on the small side. So you know what, 275 horsepower, and let's say you get 240 in real world, it'll take, like they said, 10 to 80% takes 35 minutes. So I think
as
an EV it'll sell well for Subaru. I just don't know how well the EVs are going to sell, period.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to see this because, like you said, it's Outback shaped, or at least what we remember Outback being shaped like. Yeah. And it's a little bit bigger. I mean, the cargo space is enormous. Mm-hmm. So if I had to guess, most of the additional length is just back there. And I guess we'll get to this in a little bit with the other Subaru news, but I think this split into kind of two different approaches for the same EV platform makes sense. We expect a rugged Subaru, but with the Solterra, it didn't always feel convincing. It was like, oh, there's X mode. Okay, great. But we know that this is just a busy forks. Whereas this does feel more proper Subaru. I'm excited. I like that none of us really got this right. So many people were predicting what Trailseeker was. And a lot of people thought it was either a smaller EV or a 3-row EV. So, it's the Outback of EVs.
Yeah, because the Solterra is basically the Forester, even though it's got a sleeker shape, but that's sort of the size, and this is the next size up. And I think that was it. Subaru wanted to do more EVs and in-house, and this isn't really a fully in-house, but it's sort of the gateway there. And they were saying at the press conference, there's like 8 more electrified EVs or something coming in the next couple of years, like something crazy. But I could see Subaru going for an entire lineup to parallel their SUV lineup. The Solterra, for how uncompetitive it has been, and we'll get to that in a second, it's been selling pretty well for the brand because it's a Subaru. And we always kind of thought, like, if Subaru had an electric vehicle with their, outdoorsy, hiking nature customer base, it might work, and seems to have. I mean, to your point about the capability, I don't think there's another EV in the class that's anywhere near the Solterra's capability, but it doesn't look like it, which is like part of the image of being off-roady. Like, I took the Solterra up the side of greasy mountains that, like, I didn't think some actual off-road SUVs would be able to do. But it's because the X mode with the grip control and the speed control and all this crazy stuff just works. And then this with chunkier tires and more ground clearance. Although, actually, sorry, I take that back. This has less ground clearance than the Solterra. It has less ground clearance than all of Subaru's other SUVs. It's only 8.3 inches.
Oh, only.
Yeah, because 8.7 is the usual, and I think maybe this Solterra is 8.3. It's a little less too, but yeah, I think this will do well as a EV will do, and pricing will dictate the market. But yeah, I think this is more of the Mach-E style competitor, whereas the Solterra always felt sort of one size small. But they addressed a lot of that, and we'll get to that in a little bit. One thing we forgot about Outback, I just remembered. Outback has basically Super Cruise now, which they just kind of hit in the back end of the presentation. I was like, what? It has hands-free adaptive cruise control on mapped highways in North America, which is the same mapped highways Ford, and Tesla, and GM use. I think it's TomTom or Google. Someone gives them the info.
Yeah.
And it'll go up to 85 miles or 145K, which the other ones go higher, but except for very few states, that's excessively speeding. So
yes. Yeah. Okay.
So I can't wait to try that, because if you can just get a regular Outback but still opt for that, that'd be cool. So speaking of interesting styled vehicles, we already knew about this one. It was shown in pictures a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, a while ago.
I've known about this for a while. Yeah. So the 2026 Palisade debuts, and there's an XRT, which there
XRT
was.
Pro.
Yeah, but it's way more XRT-ish. There's a hybrid, which is the big news.
Yes.
And then there's the regular. And they had all three there. And sorry, Hyundai, I apologize in advance, but I kept thinking it was a Carnival clone. I kept thinking it was a minivan when I saw it and was talking about it. And then I was like, why is there an off-road minivan? I'm like, oh, right, no, it's the Palisade. Right. It's the SUV.
Oh, interesting. So I saw it, and this was one that I really wanted to see in person, because when the pictures came out a few months ago, I was not a fan. I actually like the current Palisade. I know some people find the front end kind of fussy, but I like that it kind of looks like a shield. And this one, it's a lot of light. It's just
light.
it's. Do you like lights? Here, we brought all of them, and I do wonder about how easy it's going to be for them to get damaged by stones or something like that. But in person, I find it looks more stately. It also kind of distances itself from the Santa Fe, which is more just outright box everything, right? And then you move to the back, and they just flat out stole Range Rover's like roofline. The angled pillar in the back is completely Range Rover, and that's fine because it gives this a very upscale feel. And again, you have to distance this from the Santa Fe. Not the Santa Fe is a 3-row again, and so this looks like a proper range topper. I mean, outside of the Ioniq 9, it looks classy. It looks expensive. So it's one of those things that I think works better in person. It's not going to be for everyone, like a lot of Hyundai designs, in fact, Korean designs in general these days, but it does make a statement. And the XRT Pro actually looks serious, which is good because the last one was XRT was just a visual package, right?
Yeah, the Pro is visually the best looking because that's what people like, and I guess we're getting brainwashed into it. I think we need to get Range Rover versus Wagoneer versus Palisade versus QX80, and the battle of the Range Rover lookalikes. See which ones. We could like take pictures of their back ends and say which one's which.
I wondered where you were going with that. I was like, how is this going to fit in? Okay, that makes sense.
So some of the pictures I see the front end like this, when you're like you said, when you're in person, it's got a very imposing, stately look. Like it looks like the Escalade Navigator, the face not everyone loves, but you can't miss them.
Yeah.
But when you see it from afar and in some pictures, I'm like, hey, the Plymouth Magic Wagon's back. And then like, oh no, wait, because of the stacked headlights and the big grille and everything, it's just got that general shape from a mile away. But when you see it, it's big, and the interior's got all the nice upgrades. And like you said, it was one of our favorite 3 rows already. And like looks are completely personal on if you like them or not, but I'm sure it probably is better in every other way. So yeah, I look forward to trying it out. And the hybrid, I mean, these vehicles should all be hybrid or plug-in, because they're not meant for performance. So why not get the best possible mileage out of your family hauler?
Yeah, and I will admit, because we had our freelancer Jeremy on this, I did not look at the specs on that, but seeing a hybrid just immediately, I was like, well, great, because that has been my biggest complaint about the current Palisade, is that its powertrain is only okay. So
yeah, and it remains in the regular, which will be, still probably 70% of all sales, but if they fix the way it builds power paired with the transmission, that was the issue. Like the power was all the high RPMs and the transmission didn't know what gear one to be in. But if you massage all that,
I guess my complaint is that it's still just super thirsty. Like there's almost nothing else in the segment that is less efficient. But we're seeing more and more electrified sales for Hyundai too. Like Hyundai is following Toyota pretty quickly in terms of its split of electrified vehicle sales. So more hybrids, wicked, awesome.
So Kyle, we should be held to this, but when we redo this mega comparison of these class, we need to do a part where we weigh them out to their max and drive them for a bit and see what do they really get in efficiency. Like, does everything else fall off a cliff, even the hybrids, once you put 8 people in cargo, or is there still a big advantage? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe something interesting to see.
Yeah, when you said load them up to max, I thought you meant also towing, and I was like, come on. Like, I know these things do tow, but I don't think people tend to tow too often with them. Like full up.
A lot of them tow, but it's always like little boats or something.
Yeah,
it's like
but
going to the cottage.
But we should do that. Yeah, fit 8 people in. Okay, continuing on.
So sticking with Korean cars that have unusual styling, we have another one, the EV4. Now I saw this 2 weeks ago in Korea. And I remember walking by and thinking, oh, there's the EV4. We don't get that. Yes, we are getting it, because we have the EV5 and the EV6 and the EV3 is coming and the EV9 and
When you say we get the EV5, you mean the Canadians.
Yes. which I didn't see in Seoul, so that was interesting that they don't
Yeah.
seem to have it in their home market.
So this was okay. Well, it's a good thing that we have a picture of the front of the vehicle. Kia knows.
Sorry, before you go on, the SUV styling that they use actually works on this car, which is surprising. And I think it's because the lines flow with the lines of the car as opposed to just kind of grafted to the nose.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting because the front end is quite different. It has very vertical headlights, but then a very low nose. And if you look at the glass house, it's very EV6, which becomes strange because as you get to the back, there's a little black trim piece, which is actually one of the two little winglets above the rear window, and it cuts into the C-pillar. And so you're looking at it and you're like, oh, it's disjointed. It's like there's a piece of the car missing, and then you see bodywork below the window line from the 3/4, which is very strange. Oh, sorry, my chair is very noisy. So there's hints of supercar, like old supercar, in the squared off wheel arches too. I will note that. And then you get to the back end, and the back end is so strange. It's striking. And Kia's designers told me that how they view design is you can either have something that you like right away, or you have something that people grow to like. And they said if you design something that people like right off the bat, as soon as they see it, it tends to age quickly. And that's how they see it anyway. I mean, we could argue about that all day if we wanted to, but these are the designers, and that was their take on it. And I sort of get that. And there are other Kia designs that we've warmed to over time. So we'll see how this goes. But it's a very protruding shape, and it kind of looks like a hatchback, especially because they've used that trick of having the black trim piece at the bottom of the window. And then you open it, and the trunk is basically a mail slot. There's almost no vertical plane opening when you open the trunk. It's almost exclusively just, you have to load things in. You can't drop them into the trunk. So I do wonder how people are going to respond to that. But I mean, more important, I guess, than all of that is that this is an affordable EV, and it's a car. All of Kia's EVs are currently SUVs. Most of the market is SUVs for fairly obvious reasons, but this will drive like a car, and it's on, now they call it the eGMP platform, but every eGMP we've seen before is rear drive. So this is a front drive based one, and it's also a 400-volt architecture to keep the price down. But the bigger battery pack with front drive and 201 horsepower, you're looking at 330 miles of range. And so if this ends up as my guess is it's going to be one of the 5 most affordable EVs period on the market when it comes out. That's a lot of range for a pretty affordable, pretty spacious car, because inside it's just like a K4.
Unless you got to take cargo.
What's that?
I said spacious unless you need cargo.
Well, and on that note, we don't get the hatchback that other markets are getting, but at Kia's reveal, they announced that the EV3 won World Car, which is really great. And it's a little bit shorter than this, but it's an SUV shape. And the EV3 is coming to North America. So if you need more space, you can get the EV3.
I know. Like I said, you see this, you think, oh, it's the EV4 hatchback. No, it's not. Nope. That back end is strange. It like tapers upwards, which is like reverse tapering. It's like the Oldsmobile Aurora upside down.
Yeah.
Like it's narrow and goes up. It's like a jet.
And then its taillights everyone's doing full width taillights, right? And these are super thin vertical ones right at the edges. So you get a ton of sheet metal. It's a very different proportion to the styling at the back than we see on pretty much every car. And so, yeah, I do wonder how the public will respond to it. That seems to be the theme for New York.
I mean, if everything goes well for Kia, it could be the exact thing because it's affordable, like you said. It could be a very affordable EV. They'll stand out. And if people get to know, like, oh, that's the not cheap, like badly built, but that's the low priced EV, and then it becomes like a style thing. Who knows? But we need to move on.
Yes.
That's still a lot of cars to talk about.
Yeah.
So, well, these ones won't take us long. But so Jeep brought the Wagoneer Overland Special Edition because Jeep likes to special edition everything. So basically, they've done the Overland treatment to the Wagoneer, which, like the Grand Cherokee, it's sort of like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a a mid fancy vehicle. You get like a lot of cool little bits, but not having to step up to like the getting every fancy feature that tracks the price way up.
Yeah, it's medium fancy. It's enormous, and now it has an overland edition because I guess people are actually taking it off road. I mean, you have to find a trail big enough, but okay, yeah, all terrain tires, a few other things, right?
It's enormous in the sense of an SUV, but it's a Ram underneath, so it's no bigger than a pickup truck that people take off road all the time. It's just got a lot of sheet metal on it. But yeah. I think I don't even know if people are taking off road. I think it's just there was no off-roady version of the Wagoneer, and as we've said throughout this podcast with all the vehicles we saw, everyone needs one because that's what people want to look like they do, even if they don't. So,
yeah. All right.
It's sort of a, how did it take this long to get an overland or any sort of, off-road looking Wagoneer? That's
a good point. Oh, it's here now.
So on the opposite side of the spectrum, which we're more of a fan of, Volkswagen said, hey, our Tiguan that you haven't even driven yet, well, it needs more power. So I can't argue with that. And
they're the experts.
I'm going to drive the new one in a couple weeks, and sadly, this I'm sure won't be there. But the 26 Tiguan is going to have an R-Line turbo, which you may think, but wait, the Tiguan already is a turbo. You are correct. But this one has 268 horsepower, which sounds a lot like a certain front-wheel drive Volkswagen that we love. And if it's got basically that engine hooked up to all-wheel drive, and it's the Tiguan's not the 3-row sort of extra long compact. It's kind of back down to compact, but still, this could be the best performing compact SUV. I mean, in that class, you have the CX-50 turbo and the Escape. I'm thinking, what else makes power up around there?
I mean, the plug-in hybrid versions of the RAV4 and the Tucson and the Sportage.
They're also carrying like an extra 800 pounds of weight with them.
Yeah. But that's more power. I find this an interesting approach. I saw the Tiguan in LA, I want to say, and the big news is that it really is much more premium inside. It looks nice, like genuinely nice. You get massage seats, and so for a premium sort of model, why not give people a more powerful powertrain if they want, again, more of a premium vehicle overall? And this one's just speedier. I'm sure it's only going to be a small percentage of sales, but I mean, I like the idea of what essentially is a taller, nicer inside Golf R, slightly detuned. Cool.
Yeah, detuned. But yeah, I mean, Volkswagen, the Taos and the current Tiguan, they always have some of the better driving SUVs to begin with. And if you're putting it up, it kind of makes me wonder why anyone would ever buy an Audi Q3 now that it's got the big power and the premium interior. And we'll talk about it next week. I drove some Cupras, and that's sort of where this drivetrain is kind of shared and coming from. But I won't argue. Put this in the Taos next. Let's see a Super Taos.
Ooh. I mean, currently you can't really buy any Audis. So. Oh yeah.
So moving on, this was big news, but we'll just cover it quickly. So the Solterra basically fixed every issue we had with the vehicle. It has a new look, and I mean, that's again up to personal style. Some elements of the new look I like. They went real sort of. Tesla started the trend of just having nothing up front but sheet metal, and then a little Subaru logo, which lights up now because everyone needs the logo to light up. Oh. Yeah, and the Trailseeker, the word Subaru in the back lights up like Volkswagen. You say oh no, I say awesome. I love things that light up. But this has now 338 horsepower, I believe, instead of the 217, which is hilarious. I made the comparison. Can you imagine if someone brought a regular car, like a regular gas car, like a Civic, and said, oh, by the way, we gave it 57 more horsepower in its refresh. No big deal. The hybrid now makes 310 horsepower of Civic. That's just where we're at. But with electric vehicles, it's just done. It's got more range. It's now going to have 270 plus miles. And it has the preconditioned battery, so it'll charge just as fast in the winter. Like power, range, and technology were sort of its three things that was lacking to most of the competition. And we knew it was coming because Toyota already did it with the BZ4X.
Yeah.
But good on the two brands to recognize this and really address it fast, because it's not like, oh, we gave it 5 horsepower and 3 more miles. Like they basically made it go from Y to now you would cross shop it with an Aria or a EV6 or like the somewhat smaller compacts, which is so confusing in that segment.
Yeah, no, I think this looks great. And as we were saying earlier with the Trailseeker, now the Trailseeker is more rugged, and this has lost its plastic cladding. It's now all
only on certain trims.
Okay,
this is
yes,
just
but
only if you get this trim. But you're right, there's the option before.
Yeah,
It was like cladding all day.
and now I think it looks pretty good. The face is interesting to me. This new family face that both this and the Trailseeker have, because like you said, there's a lot of sheet metal. But to me, it also looks kind of like a very meek Pokemon. It's like a little not so sure of meeting you. It's I like it because it's very unaggressive, and we need more of that in the auto industry. Yeah, suddenly I'm really excited to try and drive this now, and I can't say that was the case before.
And like I said, like this was very capable off-road, but even with the cladding, it didn't look like it. And I think like it doesn't lose any of that because the specs on ground clearance and all it doesn't change. But I think, like I said, we'll make a Trailseeker that people will use it potentially, or at least kind of boast about it. And this will be our city one. And the face, I forgot to mention with the Trailseeker. So this has a new headlight design, and it has the same one the Trailseeker does, and it's the slit daytime running light, but it's got 6 sort of oval daytime running lights in 2 rows, and it's basically the 6 stars, like their logo, but it's not in that shape. But it has some family reasoning behind it, and I like the way they look, and it blends in better with the headlight that's separate in that little pod below it than what everyone's doing with the 1 bar and then the light below, like the Outback has, and every other SUV in the world right now. So good for them. I kind of hope this look blends. All right, so moving on to the EV9 has a Nightfall edition because the vehicle we don't even have yet needs special editions.
No, we have this. We have the EV9.
Oh yeah, right.
We have the EV9. We've driven it a few times.
It's the Ioniq 9 we don't have. Right.
I'll be real quick about this because I covered this. It's just a new trim. It's the first time it's being applied to an EV, but it's the Nightfall thing. Cool. It's blacked out trim, blacked out badges, black interior, black wheels. It's pretty straightforward. There are a few weird things in the press release. Kia talks about genuine seat stitching as opposed to the other sort of seat stitching. And then it talks up a new exterior color, which is called, it's like Road Rider Brown. But then, of course, all the press photos are white, and the car at the show is white. So there is a new color, but we have no idea what it looks like yet.
I get it. The way with the blacked out package, that's always the best contrast, so you're trying to show it off.
I get it. But that's it. It's the same powertrain as the Land, so it's the higher horsepower, but it also gets the boost of the GT line. So you're looking at 510-ish, 516 pound-feet of torque, I think. So it's very quick, but not as quick as the actual GT that's coming later this year.
Hopefully. I mean, Kia showed us another GT and then pulled it from us. So.
Yeah.
In Canada, at least.
Yeah. So that's that.
Okay, and now the best named vehicle of the entire show, Mercedes. I don't even remember what the name was. What is it, like the G550 back to the 80s or something?
No, it's stronger than the 1980s.
Stronger edition. Yes. Which is the best name ever. Yeah. Basically, it's a G-Wagon with some very 80s looking wheel and color combos, and it just looks really cool.
If this was on the floor, I missed it, and I'm really sad.
I didn't have time. I was stuck in Subaru because, as we've talked about, it was like the Subaru New York Auto Show that just has so many vehicles.
And the Mercedes booth had all vehicles I had seen before up front. And so I was like, oh, well, that's... So I might have missed this. It looks cool. It looks exactly like an old 80s one. I love it.
It's very cool. You know what? It's an old car in the sense of its style. Might as well go full old.
Yeah.
So that's it for New York. Finally, I'm sorry we've taken so long. I don't think we're really going to get to our reviews. We'll bang through them quick, but first we need to take a break. Have a word from our sponsor. I will be back with Greg to talk some products. Then Kyle and I'll be back to quickly go through the reviews we did in the last 2 weeks. And then I'll talk to Colum F1, and we'll be back to wrap it up. So this is the Auto Guide Show brought to you by eBay Motors, and we'll be back in a second.
Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you'll find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
All right, welcome back. We have Greg joining us on this busy New York Auto Show podcast. What product do we have to discuss today?
Well, hey, it's spring. It's a good time to get out, be outside with your car. You might need to listen to some music or your favorite podcast, perhaps. So we're going to talk about the best speakers for an outdoor sort of tailgate environment. So we got a great list here, lots of them. I'm actually going through it. I'm shocked at how many of these I actually have experience with. A lot of times you go through here and you recommend one or two sort of things. Here it's like I've tested many of them, and they're all quite good. I actually like this JBL one. That's pretty good. You might remember a few years ago when like Bluetooth speakers were all the rage. It seemed like a lot of automakers were just passing these things out at like holiday parties. They're using them as doorstops. There's so many of them, but that's a pretty good one. And there's a bunch of others on here that are quite good as well.
Yeah, they were. You want a good one, like you said on this list, because there's such a variety, and I've got ones before that were like huge, and you think, oh, this is gonna be such a good sounding speaker, and it's heavy, so it's got a big magnet in the back, and that sounds terrible. So size does not matter; it's quality that matters.
So in that vein, the Wonder Boom one, it's tiny. It's the size of like, we'll say this coffee mug that I'm holding up right here. So little, it's the best one. I absolutely love it. It sounds great. It's easy. It's got a fairly reasonably long battery range. Charge it with just that standard like cable with what other device you might have around. That's actually my favorite. I really like that one.
Yeah, when you go camping or at campfire or tailgating, and someone's playing music, it sounds pretty clear, and you walk by and you see it's just this tiny little thing sitting there, and some of them can make great sound and some don't. So I guess any of our viewers or listeners that don't know Dodge calibers will want to check this list out, because remember that thing had the swing down built-in tailgate speaker?
Oh yeah.
That's the hatch. You could even take it out. I think it would charge up, and you could like actually remove it for short periods of time.
The Dodge Caliber, that's a deep cut. I wasn't ready for that on Thursday morning, but well played. I like it. That was a fun car. Did you ever drive the SRT4 version?
Yeah.
That was a hot hatch.
Yeah, it didn't quite live up to its neon brother in terms of just all-out fun, but it sure was quick.
It was tough to drive too. That notchy manual transmission. That was a workout. But
oh yeah, torque steer for days. But anyway, back to speakers. So yeah, if people want to check out on our site, it is the best tailgate speakers to. Oh, the AutoGuide logo's in the way. What's it say? Oh, to pump up your outdoor party jam. Of course, pump up the jam.
Should we keep that headline? I don't even know. I think it's self-explanatory, right? Great headline,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. On fire tables not included. That's only if you go to the Buffalo Bills parties.
Well, there you go. Couches, tables, whatever you need. You got to set that soundtrack.
Exactly. Music always hits the mood. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll have you back next week where we'll have a little more time to discuss product, as there won't be quite so much New York stuff. Like this show has been crazy so far, and there's much more to come. So until next week, thanks, Greg, and we'll talk to you then.
See you later, Mike.
Picture this. You're in the garage, your favorite room in the house, and you're tuning up your engine with parts you found on eBay. Every piece is just locking perfectly into place. You step back to admire your work, hands covered in grease, and because you're committed to driving that thing further than the odometer can handle, you start to think to yourself, you know what, I could probably also use some new brakes, some shocks and struts, and this baby deserves a new air filter. So you head right back to eBay. You can find any part you need there. It's unreal. From wipers and headlights to cold air intakes, exhaust systems, and even that turbo you've had on your mind, eBay is the stocked garage of your dreams. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. Because eBay knows DIY fixes can be major, and mods are always intense, so you need to know that these parts guaranteed to fit every time before you dive in wrench first. And in the off chance you order a part and it doesn't fit, send it back, simple as that. You know what you love more than the car itself is driving it. You're serious when it comes to engine maintenance, and you're locked in when you're headed into a build. And that's exactly why you start with eBay, minor fix or complete overhaul. You want to get your ride back on the road, and you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. So eBay created My Garage, where all you have to do is add your ride's info and get the exact parts that fit. When you see the green check, you're a click away from that part clicking perfectly into place. So now that you know all that, imagine standing at that open garage door looking at your car you love more than anything, knowing that anything is possible. Whether it's keeping it on the road forever or turning it into something that's never been on the road before. Because with eBay, your garage just got a whole lot bigger. Get all the parts you need at prices you love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love.
Okay, please welcome back Colum Wood, who made some time during this very busy episode of the auto show and everything to talk a little F1. So what do you have for us this week?
Oh, man, there's so much stuff. I had to cut a couple stories right before we hopped on. So maybe first of all, George Russell. He's been a really a great success, but under the radar this year. Like he's not winning races, but he's winding way up high in the points, doing really well. And so the rumor is that Mercedes is looking to sign him for a 2-year contract with a potential extension coming up very soon. So $30 million a year. So George is going to be making the good dollars. You can see how the contracts in F1 have just like gone through the roof recently. So good for him, I think.
It's interesting though, it's only 2 years because everyone said when Lewis left, it wasn't his team. That he's still he's first driver now, but that won't be permanent. And this doesn't sound like it either if it's only 2 years. They really want to hand it over to the kid.
Yeah, I think they do. Antonelli looks fabulous. Like he's really been doing very well for a rookie. So I think that's true. So it's like keep him around. There's rumors pointing to, obviously that though Mercedes is trying to still hire, Max Verstappen away at the end of this year, which plays into a future comment I have. But really that it looks like they're shying away from that. And I hate saying this because I can't find the source, but apparently somewhere out there, it was indicated that Verstappen would race for pretty much any team except for a team with George Russell. And I really don't know. Like I've never heard of any real beef between them, so I don't know what that's all about. Or maybe he was just trying to make things difficult for somebody else. I don't know. So, but it looks good for it's a something decent. Like, will George ever be a world champion? Probably not, but he's going to have I think a solid and long future in F1, making good bucks by the looks of it. So
yeah, if he's on the right team, I think he could, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, true. Like if he was in like the current McLarens or the last year's Red Bull,
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who can win in either of those cars.
A lot of guys who can't.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next story. What is going on in Saudi Arabia?
So there's it's almost hard to wrap your head around. So this is a crazy looking picture you're looking at for those who aren't who are just listening on the podcast. It's a new track in Saudi Arabia that includes some it's got flashing lights and it looks pretty bonkers. So the gist of it is Saudi Arabia is actually the circuit's going to be in Qiddiya, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and it has this opening corner that's 20 stories in the air, which sounds like a giant safety concern. I presume they would put some barriers there so that, and then that would underneath the 20-story drop off is going to be a stadium, effectively like a concert stadium. The idea is that this is coming, and really that the track they have in Jeddah was a temporary one. It is a street circuit, right? And they're actually going to look to replace it with something that's more permanent. And Saudi Arabia is very serious about being a part of this long term. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, and it looks like I'm trying to see if there's more information here on. It's basically it's going to be outside of Riyadh, and they think it'll be ready in 2027.
Oh wow!
And here's a little thing that the head of the Saudi Automobile and Motorcycle Federation basically said that it's not impossible that Saudi Arabia could have 2 races in Formula One. They because they are the Aramco, one of the major sponsors of Formula One, that is basically owned by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, and there's just money galore. And deeper rumors indicate that they're still looking to buy a team. Right. So they actually want to, there was a rumor years ago, they actually tried to buy all of Formula One, but they've also continued to express that basically the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia would like to actually purchase a Formula One team. Interestingly, really McLaren is mostly, I guess, owned by Riyadh. So not Riyadh, Bahrain, right? So there's a little like rivalry amongst empires there. So
It's just further real life imitating video games, because this looks like a Mario Kart track or something, and it'll be cool if they build it. And they can easily have 2 or 3 races. Just depends how much money they want to throw at Formula One and FIA.
Yeah, no, it 100% looks like and it looks like the wackiest of the Mario Kart races, right? Like not even like the semi-normal. I expect to see giant, bullets flying through the air in banana peels and stuff. It looks so weird. So,
lots of DRS zones and some tight corners, so could be a good track. We'll have to wait and see if it's even built.
Yep. Oh, and there you go. Photo on screen of Max Verstappen with his LinkedIn open to work sign. So this all stems. We were saying I was mentioning from the George movements that apparently, so after the last race in Bahrain, they basically Max finished 6th, which was pretty terrible. The car seemed pretty terrible. It seemed pretty terrible all year long. And
apparently 6th is pretty terrible, because like a lot of teams would kill to get to 6th.
They would. They totally would.
But not when you've been dominating for 3 years.
No. So apparently Verstappen's manager was seen basically tearing a strip off Helmut Marko, and Helmut Marko was just standing there kind of listening. And rumor has it that Verstappen actually has a clause in his contract that he can break his contract if the car isn't competitive enough. And there continue to be these rumors. One of the rumors, I mean, the 2 teams people are always looking at were if he was going to leave, it would be to either Mercedes or Aston Martin. Mercedes is, it looks like with the George signing, not going to happen at all. Although people break contracts if they want to, if it's worth it. And Aston Martin, oh my goodness, sure wouldn't want to be there right now. So I know apparently Newey is putting all of his energy into next year. So we'll see if they come up with a better car. But
and it makes sense, right? Like, you signed him, and it was kind of too late this year to really want to care to do it. But as he said, if he breaks his contract, great. But he's not going to McLaren. He's not going to Ferrari. They both got driver lineups locked in. Mercedes is locked in. So then where do you go? Like, you don't go to you're not going to follow Liam down to Running Bulls, or Racing Bulls or whatever. So I mean, Aston Martin makes sense if they can get the car. Cadillac Racing with
there you go.
Max Verstappen as our lead driver. You want to make an impact. There you go.
That would do it. I don't think Cadillac's gonna spend quite that money, but we'll see. So it looks interesting, and I won't be surprised if he ends up going to Aston Martin. But it would still be such a risk. But you never know. To be fair, I mean, it's not like Max came into a very successful Red Bull team in a sense, but he was kind of built up over the years. And when Red Bull started, they came out of nowhere, right? So
yeah, like after Vettel left, they had gone down a little bit, and then he built them back up. I think isn't Alonso secured through 26, so maybe Max will wait a season to see how the new car is, and then decide if he's going to jump ship.
Maybe, yeah. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Alonso called it quits at the end of this year.
After the last 2 years, I don't know how much more he'd want to be out there. But
yeah. Although at the same time, if Newey's going to bring the good car, crap, you'd want to be around for that, right?
We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Like, he may know, like they may have had discussions like, you're going to do terrible this year, just stick with it. We'll have the car next year.
Yeah. What a crazy world, right? Like they're like, hey, Fernando Alonso, we're going to pay you a big pile of cash to come in 18th every week.
Yeah.
Enjoy. But it would still be frustrating, even if you knew it'd still be frustrating from, I'm sure, a mentality where you want to win, right? So
well, shout out to Lance. He's had some good finishes for that car that they have.
He has. So we'll see, and we got more racing coming this weekend. So
all right, well, next week we'll have a smaller show so we can talk even more F1 and, like I said, more racing. So until then, have a good week.
Awesome. Thanks, you too, Mike.
All right, so what are we up to down the road? Well, we're hoping to have a comparison next week, but more on that next week we will discuss. As we've mentioned, Kyle and I are both still in New York City, so we need to get home. So this week we haven't really driven anything else because we were on the road. So I'm sorry there isn't much of an update, but we do have lots coming down the road, and there are lots of first drives coming down the road. So stay tuned, and next week we'll be back with the guest and a regular show.
Yes, and also there was one more drive program next week. I will be driving the updated Golf GTI and Golf R. So I don't know if I'll be able to talk about it next week, but that's also what I'll be doing.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so until next week, this has been an extra long New York Auto Show packed episode of the Auto Show of the Auto Show on the Mind of the Auto Guide Show, brought to you by eBay Motors. So until next week, we'll see you later.
So long, everybody.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. It's okay, because you know whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything: brakes, headlights, cold air intakes, whatever you need, and it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need, at the prices you'll love, guaranteed fit every time. eBay, things people love.